Hello everyone, welcome back to Base Damage. Hope you are all doing well. Today I wanted to discuss content creation, especially when it comes to Schwarz, and I got this idea from the most recent episode, the very first episode I should say, that Chairman TCG posted for Schwarz Table Talk, a new little podcast thing that they're doing, and I think this is really awesome. Definitely please go give them a listen. But one of the very first things, I've only gotten a few minutes into this, and it led to me wanting to make a video. And nothing they said, but it was where one of the reasons that they also wanted to talk about this, and I recommend you go definitely watch the video for this, is that there was an article posted, and once again, I'm going to give several disclaimers before we get super into this, but I'm just giving the bare bones here. The article is The Weiss Content Drought by Clock One Draw 2. It is a website that they post written articles, and apparently they also make some videos as well. I need to look a little bit more into their stuff, but it was posted by a creator named Show You. So this is where we get the disclaimers out of the way. I have no issues with anything that's in here, but I feel this warrants discussion, both to people who watch Schwarz videos as well as the content creators. So I feel that me looking at this article, and I did read this article already before I ever clicked record, I feel that looking at this in a constructive manner, and seeing, hey, what do I do differently than maybe other content creators, or what, like, that's mainly a lot of the Weiss content that I consume is, like, how are these people doing their videos differently from me? Maybe I'll pull up a deck profile or something once in a while, but for the most part, I look at this kind of stuff, and I'm not looking to, cause issues for this person. I have no, there's several things I do agree with in this article that Show You posted, but there's also some things that I kind of want to put my 2 cents out there for, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So let's get into it. And obviously, Show You, if you ever watch this, if you are not comfortable with me having this video on YouTube and me talking about your article, like, by all means, feel free to reach out to me and tell me to remove it, and I will happily do so. Like, I don't want there to be any, issues between us, man. But, if you want me to remove this, feel free to message me and ask me to do so, and I will happily do so. But other than that, I do want to bring attention to what I do as a content creator, as well as what I see other people doing, because there is a lot of things that Show You mentions that I do very much agree with, and certain things that I stay away from. So let's go ahead and get into the article. Once again, I will leave a link for this in the description for anyone who wants to go read it for themselves, because there are some things I'm going to be kind of skimming over just to get to the main meat and potatoes, as well as they did a follow-up, because this was about a week ago, and it was in February, so it was about, feel like almost 2 weeks ago, where they posted a response to it a week ago of some comments and criticism that they had gotten. So I will post the links for both of these in there as well, so feel free to check them out. But I do want to, I read both, but I do want to give my 2 cents on the matter, and not for their article in particular, but for the Weiss content creation scene, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So obviously they go into addressing, why am I saying such a controversial title, but it is, the main thing they're saying is, why does it feel like there's no content for Schwarz out there? Which, I'm just going to go ahead and show my channel of, over 500 videos, and I've had to delete several recently. Ones that are either out of date, or ones of people that, once again, people have asked me to remove their videos, or videos that they were in and stuff like that, like in the past. I had a dude reach out and said, hey, I'm applying for a job, and I need you to remove my name from this or remove the video altogether. And, that has happened more than once, I'm just saying. So I'm like, hey, by all means, I have to do it. But, so I've made hundreds of videos over the course of going on 10 years now. There's content, I'm just saying. But anyway, let's go into it. And obviously they talk about a quick YouTube search result for Weiss. I'm not trying to say I'm offended, but how come, it's just really funny that none of my stuff's up in here. I'm not saying anything against Show You on that one. It's just really funny that none of my stuff ever gets recommended. This was an issue that I had with YouTube in general, and they do address this, where, the algorithm that YouTube kind of pushes for is kind of funky. Hell, there's probably a lot of people who aren't even going to see this video, where if you don't have restricted mode turned off, if you like, I know I made a post about that where it hid hundreds of my videos if you have restricted mode on accidentally, which, you know, YouTube forcefully puts that on. So double check your settings and turn off restricted mode for all your content creators, not just your Weiss Schwarz ones. But like, there was a point where I couldn't search up like the podcast. If I went on anyone else's like phone or their desktop or anything and searched up my channel, type in specific titles to videos, it wouldn't come up. Like, none of those videos would come up, and it would that's why I took a 3-year hiatus, because it was demoralizing. Like, it's like, hey, I want to make this content, but YouTube doesn't want to push it because it's not, you know, I'm not paying for them to push it out there. I'm not view botting or anything of that nature. So, I mean, the algorithm does affect it highly in terms of what you are going to get here, both on the video side of things and on the short side of things. Well, once again, shout out, and they say this also as well down here, shout outs to Sheezy Cats, aka Randall, who has posted some of the funniest like YouTube shorts like I've ever seen. Like 100%, just really awesome there. I love to watch the stuff. But like, even then, a lot of it's like, oh hey, showing off graded cards or showing off, you know, polls and whatnot. And I'm just as guilty of, you know, showing box openings and stuff like that. So, and scrolling down here, you do see where he's, you know, talking about, like I said, the algorithm kind of messes with stuff. If you're viewing his site, you're probably aware that, scrolling back. What we mainly see due to the YouTube algorithm is 2 types of content, and he sees collecting and tutorials. And that's, I can agree with that. Like, that's kind of the main ones that do get pushed. Like, even if you show here with the SPs and stuff like that, you're going to see collectors. When you go up here, you're going to see tutorials, whether that's reviews or whether that's how to actually learn to play Weiss, or why you should play Weiss is like kind of a different one from that, but still in this, like in the vein of like, even in deck profiles, you're telling someone, hey, this is how you play this deck. So you can look at that as like a tutorial. So I do agree with him on that one, and he said, hey, I'm not interested in the commenting on collecting, grading, and investments. So I guess like box openings could be considered on the collecting side of it. And, you know, I personally don't mess with the grading stuff. I don't mess with like how to invest in Weiss. I guess the most I've done, like talking investment wise, would be budget builds, like budget decks, but that is once again kind of to draw in newer players, which is what tutorials are for. So it kind of crosses like both categories at that point when you talk like budget builds or how to take 2 trial decks and smash them together, you know, type thing, and, you know, how to get into Weiss easy. But every card game is going to have something of that degree. Every card game is going to have like, your Yu-Gi-Oh is going to be like, oh cool, you take this new Blue Eye structure deck, smash 3 of them together, and you have a tournament competitive deck for $30 you can go to locals and raffle stomp people with. Like, I've seen that more times than I can count, and back in my days of Yu-Gi-Oh, I did that more times than I can count. You know, like, I'm just saying. So when you do have ones that kind of cross both of those, it's interesting how that looks at for Weiss content. And I do agree with him when it says, you know, it's a 20-year-old game. Why is the most viewed content tutorials? I'm certain he's asking this in like a rhetorical way. Like he's saying it as a thought-provoking question, not wanting me to answer it, but I'm gonna give my answer. So I understand this is more than likely just a rhetorical thing. But I feel the tutorials is because you want to pull in new people. You want, whether it's new viewers or new people playing, like new players getting into the card game. I feel that's going to be a big thing that Weiss needs, and that's totally fair. Like for some people who are like, that's not my cup of tea, I'd rather listen to meta discussion stuff. That's totally fair. He comments on that as well. But I feel that compared to Yu-Gi-Oh, MTG, Pokemon, the big 3 if you would, and even some other like games like the One Piece TCG, the Hololive TCG, what was it, the Union Arena with some of the sets that it has about to come out, you're going to see a lot of those because people are going to see those IPs and they'll be like, yo, Freerin has a set in Weiss Schwarz. Yo, if I want to buy these cards, how do I play? I feel that's how you're going to pull in a lot of newer players, because comparatively to, say, the big three, Weiss is not the biggest card game. And as much as I love it, much as it's my favorite card game, we have to admit that it's a bit smaller than some of the Titans out there. Right? No Attack on Titan, references here. So I feel that the tutorials are the most viewed ones because of how many new people search up, how do I play this, to see if I even want to get into the card game. So once again, I realize this question is more than likely rhetorical. I'm not hating on that. I'm just throwing my two cents. Like I said, this is me throwing my 2 cents in here. And even one of his points later on, this is saying his whole thing is just his opinion. This whole article, his thoughts and everything, it's just his opinion on stuff, and that's totally fair. I respect it. I respect your opinion. I have my own opinions that I want to throw out there. So, going on, moving on. Once again, he comments on like the short section and everything, and that's totally fair. And obviously, they said having more tutorials is always a good thing, as they're helping new players navigate the game and understand more of how to play. See, so I knew he had said something about that, which is why I kind of wanted to voice I do agree with that point. And he even posts his own tutorial thing. So heck yeah, you got to plug even in your own articles, most definitely. It says, but players are looking for something more. And I do want to comment on that because I've gotten feedback from my own viewers. So I'll get to that in a second. It says players are looking to learn about more in-depth ways to play. Deck building tips, maybe even lore-based content. I do like the idea of lore-based content that explores the IPs. And I'll give examples of that, but let's tackle each of these. In-depth ways to play, I feel, is gonna focus more on when you kind of shift to the meta builds and stuff like that. I mean, you can always do unique things. And once again, he kind of touches up on this. You want innovative and newer, more fresh content. I like, for example, when it comes to deck profiles, I enjoyed posting deck profiles about like Exodia builds in different sets, whether it was Bang Dream, whether it was Quince, whether it was Attack on Titan way back in the day with like mono blue Titans. Having like a game plan that you want to center around a specific board or something, like a lot of that is really fun to me. So I made content for it. Like not just, oh, here's meta Bang Dream. Oh no, hey, here's weirdo Exodia build Bang Dream, type thing. Anyway, but when you talk in-depth ways to play, that's a tutorial. Like that's like talking, hey, this is an in-depth way to play the game. That is a tutorial in and of itself. And I'm certain he probably got similar criticism. I'm just, like I said, I'm just kind of pointing my thing. Deck building tips, that's going to be in your deck profiles, 100%. Lore-based content, I really agree with this. Like, I would like to explore something like this, because when I'm doing the going over to base damage real quick here, I just posted Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest, like me going over my first impressions of the set. And there's other first impressions that I did recently as well, like Machine, as my head's covering it and whatnot. Other ones like that, or even like Eminence and Shadow cards that are about to come out. When I took a first look at a lot of those from the Card of the Day post, I can agree with them. I love when I see effects that match the character. One of my favorite sets of all time, Gurren Lagann. I loved the fusion mechanic because it was, the robots combining. I liked the discombine combo because it represented the final fight of the series where they kept throwing down. They were at, the universal level, Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, and then they kept throwing down the smaller versions to keep attacking over and over and over. You can't see my hands. I'm talking with my hands right now as I'm imagining them like pulling off each of the parts, throwing them forward to keep attacking the anti-spirals. Yes, I agree. The lore-based content like that is awesome. One of the reasons I mentioned the Fairy Tail and the Eminence and Shadow stuff. The Fairy Tail set, I noticed there was a lot of cards and effects for those characters that fit the character, that fit the lore of it. And I love that. One of the biggest things is, lore-based stuff. They mention, stuff for Shiro from, Fate and stuff like that. And there's plenty of other cards to talk about for that. There's plenty of other sets that you can talk about for that. But so seeing the lore-based content, I do agree that would be something really fucking cool to explore a bit more. And I fully agree with him on that. But you also got to think, deck building and in-depth ways to play are those exact things that you're like, why is the most viewed content tutorials? It's because that's what they are. Like the two of the three things that players are looking to learn more about, two of those things, in my opinion, are tutorials. Like, you feel free to disagree with me on this. That's totally fine. Once again, just my opinion. But like exploring the lore of particular effects and stuff like that, even like say a joke video that I did a while back, like talking about the most craziest effects in Weiss Schwarz. Like one of the craziest ones was like one of the Zombieland Saga cards that's like, hey, this gets a big buff if you're in this specific prefecture in Japan on a certain day. There's a lore reason for that. So I think those effects are really cool. I would love to see more content like that, and I fully agree with him on that. And something I do think was funny, and once again, it's just kind of him being a little bit silly, but also at the same time, I do agree with, where he's like, oh, hey, if you make a deck profile, make me want to see the content that it's from. He's like, I'll scream it out loud. Make me want to watch Lycoris Recoil after reading or viewing your deck profile. Like, I can understand wanting to see the passion behind that. And so I do agree, like, to a degree, I can understand where he's coming from on that. Then, continuing the article, because I realize I'm not trying to get too terribly lost in the sauce here, but another thing that they talk about is, like, say the thumbnails, and I'm horrible for this. As you can see, I just gave up on doing thumbnails altogether. The last actual thumbnail that was made, shoutouts to Phantom Star. Oh my god, my head's covering it. Shoutouts to Phantom Star in the Discord who made this because I did a first impressions for Azure Lane Volume 2 that he was in, and he's like, yo, let me get you a thumbnail for that. So shoutouts to him on that front. That's the last thumbnail I did because I just became lazy doing it. Joe was making them for a while, and I just told him not to worry about it. There's no point. I have no reason to do so. And I should like work harder on thumbnails, but I'm just bad at making them. That's just me. I should get better about it. Yes, but yeah. And I do agree, like, hey, once again, that me as a content creator, something I need to work on, make a better thumbnail. I don't know the meta for how to make good thumbnails. And they do go into like feeling that like it is weird, and I do agree with him on this, saying like, oh, just putting Review, Starlight, 8 pants doesn't feel like it has that much of an identity, and I get that. So I could take lesson from that. I could take a lesson from that of fixing like my titles and doing better on the even if I don't want to mess around with thumbnails, working on the titles and trying to do better on that. I will fully agree with him on that, and am taking this criticism to heart, most definitely. So it's something that I should work on. So moving right along, once again, make me laugh, make me cringe. I don't care. He wants to see the passion behind the videos, and I completely agree with that as well. There are some, and I'm not going to say any names. There are some content creators, whether it's Weiss, whether it's Yu-Gi-Oh, whether it's anything, that I just don't care for their energy, if that makes sense, where I hear them talking, in the most monotone thing ever, and hey, we're going to talk about Weiss today. We're going to play these Yu-Gi-Oh. When you sound dull, I don't want to listen to that. That's why I go, like, hello, everyone, try to put some oomph, some gusto into it, right? I attempt to bring some kind of passion with it, and, like, I will do multiple takes sometimes of, like, how to say a line, or even sometimes my intros. This video alone, I did 4 attempts. I did 4 attempts to the intro alone, just to try to get that proper vibe and introductory like sentence and stuff. So I get that, and I fully agree with him on that. And like wanting that is totally fair. So I'm not going to fault him on that one. I'm trying to see what else. I'm trying to remember. I will admit it, if this appears strange to other established or aspiring content creators, I find it hard to draw inspiration and give flavor to my article sometimes. Yeah, hey, you got to do what you got to do, man. Just keep doing what you're doing. Also, Marvelous Sunday. Adorable. Sometimes it is just hard to find the content. It is hard to find the content if YouTube doesn't want to push my content or other people's content. It gets a little hard there, and I get that. And like I said, there's other points in the article that I do agree with. Please go feel free to read it yourself. Now, this is where I'm going to go back to something that I was talking about earlier. I have asked at Duluth. This is very, very recent. When I went to Duluth, there were some other wonderful people who've watched my videos, and we talked, and they bought some cards from me. I was very, very happy that they did that as well. But they also had, and one of them had actually bought Ruby cards from me in the past. So, big shout outs to everybody who's ever done that. I do thank you. But they were playing some games down in the hotel lobby and everything. And I was like watching them, play games, talking to them and everything. And I got some feedback from them as well as some other people later on. But their specific feedback was that they preferred gameplay, like watching the games. And that's totally fair. And that's something that I've kind of wanted, something that I wanted to steer more in the direction of even before hearing them say that. Because one of the biggest things that, as you've probably seen, if it's even recommending the videos or even showing the videos on my channel, is that I loved doing the different tournaments. Doing an entire tournament with members of the Discord, doing a waifu husbando themed one. And I'm certain there's other themed ones that we would love to do in the future, and other ones that I'm planning to do with other content creators. Stuff that I just want to reach out and just do like little mini tournaments, type thing. That was something like that, me wanting to do that to begin with, and me hearing it from both these wonderful gentlemen in the hotel lobby, as well as other people as well that weekend at Duluth. They were like, yeah, I like watching gameplay stuff more. So take this with a grain of salt if you're also a YouTube content creator and you're a Schwarz content creator. There is a side of the game that, in addition to the collecting and in addition to collecting and tutorials, they want to watch gameplay. I mean, think of like one of the bigger things, and that is, people watching sports. And I'm rarely ever going to talk about sports on this channel, but, hey, whether it's anime or whether it's watching, sports anime or actual sports, whatever. A lot of people aren't watching stuff and watching clips of people teaching how to play the game or how to play basketball or how to play football. A lot of the people who are into that sport are watching gameplay. I mean, you have tutorials for any game or any card game to get new people in there. But in terms of recurring people, I kind of agree with this, where they're gonna want to watch actual games and hype moments, or, oh look, person just swung for like 5 damage, oh shit, it stuck, type thing. I realize you can only hype that up but so much, but that is something that I've wanted to kind of do more with the channel, and other members of the Discord have very much agreed with me on this, where we had like 9 people getting in on the waifu tournament. Like, I'm just saying, we had like a lot of people, and I was kind of a backup just in case we needed another person. So, and honestly, kind of hosting the tournaments feels really fun. I do like that. So that's one of the things that I've noticed personally, is people telling me directly they want to watch actual gameplay. They want to watch people throwing down playing games. So there's even if it's not that, one thing I did recently, shout outs to Weiss. That's a video that we did. We just hopped onto the simulator, hopped into a voice call, and just played some games back and forth, and I was a bully. Shout outs to Weiss. She's wonderful. And just doing that, like, cool, that video's only got like 54 views. I don't care. Like, that's whatever. I just made it because it's something I wanted to make. When more people are watching my gameplay video, I mean, let's just look at this. 54 views on this. Once again, it's not a lot of views. Let's be real. But, then I have, and this is nothing against like Desmond, but then I have a deck profile here with only 6 views. But between the two, people went towards the gameplay instead of the deck profiles, as like by comparison. So I can completely understand where wanting to have something a little bit different other than tutorials. I do agree with that. I feel one of the things that I'm going to be doing a whole lot more of is content for gameplay. I feel that's probably one of, and even seeing that, like I was told a lot, like, hey, you should make a how to play Weiss tutorial. I didn't want to do that. Like, and this was like years ago. Like, I've been told multiple times by multiple people, hey, you should make a how to play Weiss video. And I'm like, there's already people who've done that. And I don't care to make that. I don't mind doing the deck profiles and saying, hey, this is how you play the deck. This is how you play the deck, or how it's supposed to run. That's totally cool. And I want to do more stuff like that, like kind of a showing gameplay of how to run a specific deck, and I want to do that more. Like, that's cool. Anyway, ranting is over. Well, once again, big thank you to Show You from Clock 1, Draw 2. Like I said, they have a whole bunch of different articles, whole bunch of different little like tutorials, info, everything of that nature. I do recommend going and checking out their content, and checking out Chairman TCG as well. I'm gonna go listen to the rest of this podcast now. I just want to go ahead and throw my 2 cents in there. So there's things I agree with, there's things that I don't agree with, and once again, my opinion, everyone has their own. It's all good. Y'all stay safe, and remember to stay based.